Good evening. This is complete another talk. It's about Agile, about projects, actually no projects. And the subtitle is why traditional project models do belong to another age. My name is Nino Martincevic. I work for Codecentric AG in Germany, Solingen, since 6 weeks. And I think 2 or 3 weeks ago, Johan visited us in Germany and we talked about coding Serbia and the very big crowd here interested in developers and agile topics, and asked me to give a talk here. Mogu bi na naši, ja sam rođen u Hrvatskoj inače, govorim pola hrvatski, pola srpski, tu nešto između. But I will continue in English. Yes, and I proposed him 3 talks, 2 about more developer-oriented stuff and one this one. And it was a surprise that he chose this one. Okay. I'm quite long in this business. Here are some numbers. Over 20 years of software development, 15 years own businesses and freelancer and project management, agile product development. That's not to boast up my life, but to make clear that I'm not, I have seen a lot of things, good things, bad things, and especially the last one is very important for me because in the last years I started to have a holistic and I call it clean agile view on all this stuff, because in software development we have new methods, new technologies every week, but agile is basically the same since 12 years, and some things work in theory but don't work in practice, and that's what I'm very interested in, how to change them, what can we do about them, and yeah, that's what I mean with holistic. So, first let's start with the definition. Who of you is working in an agile setup here, in an agile, in Scrum, with Scrum or any agile process? Any Scrum Masters here? And any project owners here? Oh, okay. I didn't know that role exists, project owner. It was a product owner, I think. Yeah, okay, that's. What is a project actually? There are many definitions about a project. I took one of them. Prince2 is a project framework, and basically they are all saying the same. A project is a temporary organization that aims to produce something or have an outcome with in a pre-specified time and with predetermined resources. Basically, if you are coming from an agile background, we could finish the talk here, because predetermined, pre-specified and predefined doesn't work with agile. We know it, therefore it was invented. The agile also started 12 years, no, 14 years ago. The Agile Manifesto was written because most traditional projects were planned like waterfalls, and we know most of them failed miserably. That's one of the key factors why Agile is so popular, because we are looking for new ways to handle projects. Yeah, everybody knows that. And today we know it better in an Agile setup, hopefully. So if they failed, the next question is what is actually success in projects? How is success defined in projects? And basically with the Prince2 or PMI or any other definition, all projects are successful if they met all features, if they are ready in a given time, and if they met a business budget goal, so cost. then we can say this project was successful. The same isn't true for Agile projects, because just because a project manager met all 3 criteria, that doesn't mean that we are successful with the outcome we have, with the product we have, even with the project we have. Because that does only say these 3 metrics are met, but is it really successful on the market? Is it valuable for the users? There is no answer in this traditional success metrics for projects. And the first and the most important principle of Agile software development is, or no, not only software, but any, we satisfy the customer and deliver value. Value is a word that is used very heavily. Our highest priority is satisfy the customers through early and continuous delivery. Everybody, I hope so, knows this sentence, and also of valuable software. So the value is actually the metric, not if we met costs or finished it on time. So there seems to be a contradiction. Okay, in an Agile project, how is an Agile project success defined? You know this process model perhaps of Agile. We have a backlog, we have sprints, 2-4 weeks, or doesn't matter how long, but we do it incrementally and iteratively. And after all these sprints, we have a retrospective, and we are looking, are we on the right track? Are we delivering value? So basically this means we try to satisfy the customer in that we deliver the requirement she wants, and early. But that's only the half the story, because it's not about delivering the requirements she wants, it's about delivering value. And that's the point that's really important, delivering value. And this picture is well known, I hope so. Everybody has seen it, or anyone hasn't seen it so far. But there is an error in this picture. If you look on the left side, we have a product backlog. Okay, we have a small fraction of this product backlog, that's actually the sprint backlog for the next sprint, but we have this huge product backlog. And that's the difference between theory and practice. I've seen most backlogs I've seen are quite huge. But the other fact is, when we start a project or product, doesn't matter here, we know almost nothing about it. Perhaps we have a vision or a goal or whatever. Perhaps it's only a political one, but we never again know that less about our project at its start. So, and the sad truth is most backlogs have not a great difference to traditional functional specifications consisting of 500 pages of every detail specified upfront, and many guys working on it for years. In most, or in many projects, Agile projects, the backlog is basically the functional specification upfront, written at the time when we know less about our project. So basically, and waste is also a central concept of Agile, we don't want to waste anything. We don't want to waste time, resources, or we don't want to code software that's not used or overcomplicated. So basically, if we see it that way, a backlog is nothing, or many backlogs are written, are a catalog of numerous features. Nobody knows if they will ever be used. So in my opinion, that's called waste. Jeff Sutherland, the godfather of Scrum, said in his, this is his newest book, I think, The Art of Doing Twice the Work, Half in Time, which is a quite American book. We can do everything, Scrum rules the world, and so on and so on. It's a good book, but it's a little pathetic. He writes, the idea of a backlog is to have have everything in it that could possibly be used. And also he says, 80, that's the word, that are his words, 80% of the requirements are not required, but only ideas or could-haves. Nice, I can collect ideas, but I don't have to collect them in a backlog. Because if you're working in on bigger projects where you not only have one team or one product owner, but many product owners who have to fight for their features to be integrated in, or another setup is many product owners, one team, that's the worst of the scenarios. What they are doing, everyone wants to have their ideas included. And most of it is, crap. And because a team can handle only, let's say, 5 stories a sprint, and I have 200 features, some have to wait for a year to be integrated, and they resignate. Okay, that's for the backlog. That's one of the things that seems to work in theory, but in practice you have to be very careful. 10 years ago, that has nothing to do with Agile, a company named 37 Signals, who knows this company? Yeah. Released a book, Getting Real. It was really, for me, it's a must read. Because they are coming from a they are an internet application, web application. They do Basecamp, this is a project management tool, and some other useful tools for project management. And in this book, they described how they are actually working on projects and products. And basically, this is the outcome. This is known as Pareto Principle. With 20% effort, we can do 80% of the results. You can see it vice versa too. And some of the topics in this book, it is web-oriented. You have to be careful. You cannot use this for every project. And the same is valid for the backlog. There are projects or products that really need a lot of in-front planning, say for domains that are quite stable, like medicine or something like that. But the most of the projects or projects I know don't need this. And they said things like ignore details, or it's a problem when it's a problem, or scale later. And what's most important, this was, I skipped this, I skipped this sentence. They also said it's better to make half a product than a half-assed product. And that's what you have in most products, especially in this scenario, where you have many product owners. Everyone wants his crap being delivered, but only 20%. This Pareto Principle is also valid for the features. The counting may vary, but most of the features aren't used. You know this perhaps from other statistics, how many people use the features of Word. It's about 17%, I think, and 83% are never used. So basically this is valid in this direction too. And also some quite funny things, but when you think about it, they are very true. For example, saying no, start with no, or to think about, can I handle it, or it just doesn't matter. They give an example in this book where they had a web application. 10 users asked for a new feature. They said, okay, let's see what happens. 1 month later, hundreds of users asked for the feature. And then they give their first response to the users. Okay, we will think about the idea. And when 1,000 users wanted the feature, then they started planning. Basically, that's one approach. This is a complete other setting, but I think the most of it is also valid for Agile projects. Because if you read this as a developer, it's if you translate it into coding, most of the topics I can see when actually coding software, because I abstract away, I integrate details as late as possible, I mock even my database, my integration, like you showed in your test, you can mock everything, you can abstract everything. So you can start with creating an application without even thinking about which data store will be behind. Most of the old school projects started first with table design, but you could start the other way around. Yeah. And the most important of all things is, yeah, if you don't have a vision, don't start a product or project. Every manager, whenever I tell this to a manager, he says, I have to start it because it's political, it's yeah, this maybe there are reasons to start this project, but every product and project, I will switch now to product, needs a vision. There needs to be a reason why you are doing it. If there is no vision, forget it. It will be a political one, or I don't know which other reasons people always find to justify a project. And some other criteria behind vision is the most crucial one, is also we built this product because it gives us a competitive advantage. If most software products, I come from mostly from a business background. I wasn't developing games or such things, but business applications. All of this want to solve one problem, or to make things faster, or to make things more effective. But it is always the same discussion. It's also the same discussions when we already have a software product and we say, oh, it's too slow, it's too much legacy code, we cannot handle it. Let's start it from the scratch on a greenfield project. Yeah, but why do you think you can do it better now? First question. And can we do it better than others? Is it better to buy a product? That's a question you have to ask. And is it critical and complex? If it's just a script or something like that, okay, we don't have to talk about it. But if it's not really critical or complex, for example, yeah, I would say even a content management system isn't really complex. Can be complex, but in most cases it isn't, because it's in most business scenarios it's not the key factor for this business. It's just a tool or helper for this business. Yeah, and that leads to the third one. If we can't be bought, if no product exists like this one we want to have, yeah, that's a reason. And causes sleepless nights. Yeah. And the same goes for value. Value, as I said, is a central word in all these agile settings. If we have a product, for example, this product backlog has 49 requirements, epics or stories, doesn't matter which size they have. If we achieve our vision works after actually doing 12 of these 49. Well, should we stop here? Are we ready? Our vision works, our product works, our product is valuable, delivers the value, has the market success or whatever. So who cares about the 37 other? But I haven't seen in this traditional project thinking, you always have to work until the end. until all features are implemented. And that's stupid. When we are talking about value, actually that's one of the hardest points for product owners, for management, for everyone. What is my value? If you can't tell me what's your value, then why you started this product? Because the only value, for me, it's, I strip it down to one thing. There are really useful metrics for all kind of things like code coverage when I code. Yeah, can be useful, but complexity of code or such other things. There are metrics like velocity in Scrum or cumulative flow diagrams in Kanban or something like that. But that are all internal measurements. I measure myself, not others. That's important. The only thing that measures me is the market. The market is here. I wrote market because if I develop a product for the outside world, it is really the market. When I do it for my company itself, the market are my users, are my workers or whoever. But they are the only ones who tell me if this product is good or not. So this is easily said, but when I say this kind of stuff to managers, how can we measure it? And then my answer always is be creative. We are creative in software to measure things. Now it's your obligation to be creative to measure the market success. And you can measure everything. You can, no, not everything, but you can quantify everything. A quantification can also be, for example, what you can't measure is this layout is layout R nicer than layout B? Well, I don't know of a tool that can measure niceness or beauty, but the measure is ask the people. Ask 10 people, what do you think about our layout? So sometimes it's really very easy to measure, to quantify the success. So this is the first part. Yeah, basically what I'm saying here is a fixed agile project is a paradox. I don't have agile projects where the price is fixed, where a date is fixed, and where the contract is fixed. But now the problems start in reality, because Concentric is also working for bankings, for assurance companies, those traditional guys who don't seem to have hard enough problems to accept this fact, but they will have someday. But for all others, it's ridiculous to do an agile project with fixed settings. And there are already some solutions to this. So, so the difference between a project and product basically is, yeah, we had this temporary principle. A product has no end date. No. If I release a product, it's not that. It's not the last day of the product, it's the first day of the product. So, this is the third point. That's also a factor. If I release a product for the first time on the market, that's his birth. And as soon as I release it, it changes. Well, that's just a fact of software. Every system that I'm running software on changes at the moment when I start it. Log files are written, database is written, network is running, and so on and so on. So basically this is the birth, not real release. And products end when nobody wants to work with them, when they have no value anymore. Then I can shut down my product. If I have a website and nobody visits it, well, unregister the domain. And they almost always have a different life cycle because other factors come into play. If I have an external product for the outside world, something like marketing or PR or or even suddenly a boost of users. I have to think about scalability. I had a problem before. I worked on two very big big websites in Germany where we had this effect. We had 30,000 users, and this was some years ago. There were no virtualization or clouds or something like that. You had really hardware, very expensive hardware. And then the next day it came a publication, an article, no, it was a test of similar websites that did the same as we, and we made a second place, and then the next day we had 100,000 users, so this was a problem. But then we started to think about the problem. Nobody could expect this. And that's the difference of the life cycles. A project, in waterfall project, you think in front about the life cycle. So this is milestone 1, milestone 2, milestone 3. But there are far more other factors from outside, from inside that could change this. And if we have a closer look at this, this is a quite official definition of this Agile product or software development. Is there any word about project? I don't see it. I see the artifact is called product backlog, and the role is called product owner. So why we are talking about projects? Product owner. Yeah, one of the most controversial roles in Agile and one of the hardest roles in Agile, actually. Yeah, what does the word owner mean? Owner means to have a decisive power, to be able to say no and to understand the domain and to talk with the stakeholders or being the stakeholder himself. This is an ownership. Yeah, and to be able to say no. Well, we only had one product owner here. Have you this power?
Actually, I didn't understand your question. I'm not product owner. I thought your question was project management.
Ah, okay. But perhaps I know one product owner that really has this power, but one of, I don't know, hundreds perhaps. So this is a problem we have to solve here, but this is not our problem, this is the problem of the organizations. Inspect and adapt. Whenever discussions arise about what's really the core of this all Agile thing, this all hype Agile thing, most people come to inspect and adapt. I even strip it down to adaptability. That was my first article I wrote for Codecentric to set the cornerstones, that also to let my company know how I'm thinking. Everything I do in Agile has to be adaptable, everything, and I mean really everything. The software development already is. We have very good mechanisms. We have the technologies today to adapt in seconds. We can switch servers in seconds. We have Snowflake, Phoenix servers. To complete environments, we can restart in seconds or redesign. Perhaps not in seconds, but in a good time. We don't need months or years for that. But that is also valid for every other thing in this Agile. So if Scrum doesn't work, or if we have a product that doesn't need this length of iterations, change the iteration. And it goes up to the organization. And that's the next step in the evolution that will come in the next years. I said assurances, banking, or some other domains doesn't seem to have this problem, but they will have to think about it, how to make their companies more adaptable. Yeah, and if you're the same as before, when I said, are these 12 requirements enough, is if your product vision works, or starts to work, then adapt your plans, adapt your contracts, adapt your documents. For example, the fixed price is, in Germany, it's always a discussion. We also have this monthly meetups, Scrum, Agile. In every we always do clean coffee, lean coffee, and it's always the question, hey, how we can change this fixed budget thing. We had these models even before Agile arrived. Venture capital model is, for example, a model, or budgeting in steps, but you need the customers for this, yeah. But basically, if your product works, adapt everything, change the plans, or make dollars. If it doesn't work, stop or rethink. And that's what projects never will do, almost never will do. So, I tweaked this talk a little bit. The first time I had this talk was complete Agile and product owners listening, but I knew that this is a developer meetup. So I also, and that's the holistic aspect I have. I don't see just the project management or product management, but it also has effects or impacts on other fields, like, for example, the development. If I have to have if I have to have everything adaptable, also my development needs to be adaptable. And as developers, you already heard all this stuff, clouds and apps everywhere, microservices, or EEAS. Yeah, the E stands for environments. You can take anything you want. We were joking in Solingen lately, PaaS, platform as a service, could also be a pizza as a service, but it doesn't matter. And Docker, for example. These are all technologies we already have, like I said before. But that also means in development, because these discussions also rise now and then, should we have architects in a team? Yeah. Architects are not a bad thing, as long as they don't do a big design upfront, but an adaptable design and architecture. They have to work with the teams, but someone has to have this role of an architect, in my opinion. And that's, it doesn't have to be an official role, it can be a temporary role. The team could change every sprint. Now you are architect and now you are architect, but someone has to care about these things that are not just coding. Yeah, and there are also new, I wouldn't say new, but some approaches on how to architecture larger systems, for example, clean hexagonal architecture or ports and adapters, if you heard of them. There are new approaches. Continuous delivery and DevOps are mainstream these days. Also, many companies don't do that. But DevOps will definitely be the next big thing. Continuous delivery, continuous integration at least is mainstream, I would say, but delivery not. But continuous delivery actually is a good way. You don't have to implement it all the way, but you can start also incrementally. Let's automate it here, like in testing. Let's automate here, and write a script there, and write a script there. And it leads to a better understanding of all this Agile development. And it also has effects on other people outside the developers' teams. Yeah. So this is, I would say one quite common definition of an Agile team. They have to be cross-functional. They have to be self-organizing. They have to be don't have to be distributed, but often they are distributed. They should be stable and free of disruption dependencies, and self-deploying and releasing. And I don't know who knows this last sentence. You build it, you run it. It was first mentioned by Amazon.com. If you are the team, if you are building this product or this part of the product, could be also a part, then you run it too. And then we are with the DevOps topic. Then you have to have the operator in your team, because you are responsible for also running this product. Yeah, all this goes into one direction, that we have stable teams were always mentioned in these agile setups, but not because of this product thinking, but because of disturbing somebody at work is a bad thing. It's an impediment, and don't change the people between teams because they are good as a team and not when they switch all the time. But that's even more important for products. This whole criteria sounds like microservices, I think. Who knows what microservices are? Or seems to know? Thinks to know? Oh, just a few. Okay. Then I will explain it shortly to all others. Basically, we are not microservices. Since 3-4 years an idea. We don't build monolithic applications or products that we can that is very hard to change. But we build small parts of the product that are autonomous and independent of the others. So if you ever worked in a large legacy systems, you know the pain. You can only deploy it, even a small change, you have to deploy everything. And that lasts, in some companies, every deployment is every 6 months, for example, you are lost. Or let it be a week or 2 weeks for just a text change, for example. It's ridiculous. So the idea is, let's split our monolithic applications into a far modular one. Modular software, developing software in modules and components isn't a new thing, but here microservices go a step further in that they say not just separate our whole business into domains. For example, this is an e-commerce system. We have sales, we have pricing, we have inventory, we have shipping. These are subdomains of all of our whole system. And in every subdomain we have one or more parts. For example, in the sales domain we have a part that's actually responsible for purchasing, the other ones for bundles, the other ones for claiming, and so on and so on. And then let's organize this all in the problem in the problem view in domains, and every subdomain has one or more context. And in this context, this small context, this is an application for in itself, because we can then say purchasing, one team could develop purchasing, one team could develop bundles, one team could develop claiming. If they have dependencies, they talk each other. There could be many kinds of dependencies, but you can reduce them on 1 or 2. But then you have very small parts of this big monolith that you can deploy independently. So for example, the shipping subdomain doesn't have to wait on the sales subdomain for the next release, but it can deploy the software independently. That's the trick of microservices, and currently it's the hottest shit on planet, microservices, between developers. In Solingen we had last Friday a microservices conference. It was very cool. And as I said, this is on a technical level, but on an organizational level, and this is again the holistic view on this, is also, okay, we split our monolithic product into 7 microservices, and this BC is for bounded context, because that's, I just mentioned it. Context means, when I go back, In all these contexts, for example, you may have the concept of a product, yeah? Because this is an e-commerce application. Almost every context has a product in it. But in the bundles or in the purchasing context, it has a completely other semantic than in the shipping subdomain. In the shipping subdomain, I don't care about the price change. If the price changes and I have already ordered baskets or articles, that price doesn't change. So they are completely separated from each other. And so you can say one bounded context is one microservice, is one team. But that doesn't mean that you now need to have 7 teams. It just means put one part of the product into one team that can handle perhaps 3 or 4 of these contexts. And the idea is behind this, they are stable, they know the domain very well, and they don't change the knowledge, or the knowledge isn't lost when somebody, because no one has to change the team. Yeah. For me, and that's currently the discussions we have about microservices, for me it's a logical evolution of Agile software into microservices, because they combine all the benefits we have from Agile product management and from Agile organizations into software. Okay, there are problems. Nothing comes without problems and nothing comes without work, but let's skip that. And some other concepts that are now, just because of microservices, quite hot again, because DDD, domain-driven design, is more than 10 years old, but the concept of a bounded context comes from domain-driven design. And also CQRS is also a very hot topic now. It's also an older concept. Who's ever heard of CQRS? Yeah, that's funny. Read my newest article in Codecentric. CQRS is one of the simplest concepts I know in software development. It says, if you have one object that does writing of data and reading of data, split it into 2. That's all. Cool, huh? Now think a minute. Okay, what's the problem? You have twice as much object as before. Wow, what a problem. But writing data, transactional writing of data, and reading data. I come from a web background. The ratio between reading and writing data is 10,000 to 1 at least. In some, on some, let's say Amazon or eBay, it's surely about 1 to 500,000. So how can one database, if you have one database as a backend, do both things equally good? It can't. And how can you optimize your application actually to handle these complete different concerns? Because on the right side, I need transactional security. I need to be sure that my transaction is actually successful. But on the right side, on the read side, I don't care if the data isn't shown in this second, but in the next. Doesn't matter. Everyone knows this. If everyone uses eBay here, they have all the time inconsistent data because they are optimizing for speed, and it can happen sometimes. Yeah, it's not showing up, but hey, this is data that is shown up. This is one of the, and now we also have the technology that supports this. For example, Elasticsearch. I did a very large CRM application that also had this problem, and it dramatically speeded up the reading of the data, where we had before 50 seconds with doing 70 joins in the database. We stripped it down to 500 milliseconds, the same. Yeah. So, but just because we separated the whole application into 2. Okay, as everything, it also has problems. Topics like eventual consistencies, comes into play. You have to synchronize your reading, your written data with the data being read. But even there, concept exists. A very powerful concept. Take a look at it. Okay, that was the development part. Now we come to an end. Oh, I'm late. Shit. When we do started? Okay. Yeah, and the fourth part is the management view. Yeah, why are we talking, still talking about projects? Because every manager thinks with project or with the project model, he can control uncertainty. Wow, cool. Very hard word. Complexity, okay. Yeah, but that's bullshit, we know it. You cannot control this. And what it reminds me of is, you are all from Serbia, almost all? You were born before 89, 90? Socialism, communism? What's the difference between project management and centrally planned economy? Okay, we are not planning projects in 5 years, but in 2 years, in 1 year, in 6 months. But basically it's the same. It's centrally planned economy. But that's not we know the experiment failed badly in most, yeah, in all cases, I don't know, in most cases perhaps, I think in all, we don't have central planned economy anymore. We have a free market economy. And that's the connections to the slides before, where I say the market says if you are successful or not a plan. Yeah, we had this, but what I'm trying to tell managers or project managers is, if the development is able to change to more flexible, to more adaptable technologies, why you don't invest time? But there are already very good ideas here. We have lean startup, we have micro projects even, and many other new approaches how to organize, how to change organizations, or how to change all this product and project management things. Yeah. But the laziness of the manager, or still trying to control this, seems to be more important. One of the last words is, we talked about the fixed price and time and scope, but is it a problem of Agile? No, it's not a problem of Agile. Agile works. If we do it right, it works. If we try hard, it works too. It doesn't work every time, I know it. Hopefully you too. But actually, if I have something that works quite good in complex scenarios, it's not my problem if you are working with fixed prices, it's your problem. And it's not my problem if you promise some dates to customers that you know from the beginning on you cannot ever afford this. Yeah, it's not my problem, it's your problem. Okay, but you still have to accept constraints. Politics is the biggest of all constraints. Bonuses for managers is another constraint. Yeah, we have to accept this, but I will never give up to fight against it. Yeah, okay. So basically product success means just doing the best in delivering the most valuable product, optimize our work continuously, will give us cash, money, success, love, peace and harmony. But basically that's what I wanted to say. And a very good last sentence is from Alan Kelly, a guy I respect a lot, is, today, delivering on schedule, on budget, and on scope is a sign of failure, not success.